Good afternoon and welcome to the Sabi Sands, South Africa. We are here on Djuma and Arathusa, and it's turned out to be a beautiful day, which is great. This morning there was a lot of wind and clouds and we were concerned we may have rain this afternoon. But at the moment, there are just a few tiny clouds in the sky, nothing to be worried about. It's predominantly blue, which is great. We don't have to worry about rain. And myself and Brian, who is on camera this afternoon with me, are making our way back to where we left quarantine this morning. He's a young male leopard, about 2 years old, and hopefully he's going to be in a similar area to where we left him, but I fear that we may not find him when we get there. So what we've done is we've ensured that the route we're taking there is taking us through an area that he was generally moving towards. So if he did move, we're kind of hoping to loop ahead of where he may have come to. Anyway, we're making our way back there now, and Mark and VM's plan is to head back towards where Kunyuma was seen this morning, which is Quarantine's brother, another young male leopard. So that's what Mark's up to, and we will be switching between the two vehicles as we go, depending on who's got the best content at the time. And a reminder, for this evening we'll be doing a fireside chat, which is great. We always look forward to the Sunday night fireside chats, and that will be broadcasted directly after the game drive finishes. So we have the usual 3-hour game drive and then a 1-hour fireside chat thereafter. For any newcomers, welcome on board, and to the regulars, welcome back. For the newcomers, it's important to understand that this is an interactive safari, so it's possible for you to ask questions. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, and to do that you would hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and questions at WildEarthTV on email. So please send through some questions as soon as we find something, or anything relative to what we're looking at or what you may be interested in or unsure of. And Alex, who's in the final control this afternoon, will try and filter those through to us on drive. Now, we try and do this whenever we're driving around, but there's very many different things that we're going to be trying to look for. We're going to be checking the roads for any tracks of animals that may have walked down the road. It is the clearest and best way of us understanding where animals have moved. The road networks provide us with the great insights into what the animals have been doing. So I'm checking the road now to make sure we don't have any tracks of Quarantine, this male leopard, and or any other interesting animals that we may be looking for. So checking the roads, checking the bushes, obviously, because the animals we look for could be lying either side of the road, up a tree, behind a bush. So we're scanning a few different spots, and it'll take us about 5 minutes from where we are here now to get to the exact spot where we left him. I'm going to ensure though that I don't rush there and overlook any important information that we could gather along the way. He was down towards our left, on our left-hand side of the road, probably half a mile from where we are now, but his general movement was towards us. So if he had have got up again and started moving, which I think he would have, because he was very hungry when we saw him this morning, he could well have continued to move in this direction. So just checking carefully along the way. The best place we could wish for him to be would be up a tree, because it's one of the easier places to spot them, especially if they are up a marula tree. which is, I guess, the most common tree to find them up. But what's nice about the marula tree is it's not very thick, but quite a high, flat canopy, and therefore all the thick horizontal branches below, like for example the one just up ahead of us there, Brian, it would be very easy to see the leopard if he was lying on one of those beautiful horizontal branches of the marula tree. So that is a place you guys can also keep your eyes peeled for, is the silhouettes of a cat up a tree, a tail dangling down or a head poking up above a horizontal branch. Okay, now I'm just thinking whether it's worth me actually having a scan with my binoculars down into the valley where we left him. I'm just going to check if I do have a decent angle. But sadly we don't have a decent angle from here. What I may do though is approach from this side of the valley that he was in, because there is a small riverbed that would be difficult to cross for us in the vehicle if he is still where he was. So let's just mosey on down here and see if we don't get lucky. I need to refine my angle of attack here. It will be really wonderful if we can find this leopard this afternoon, because as I did mention earlier, he looks to be extremely full-bellied, and a leopard that's full-bellied, no, sorry, not full-bellied, empty-bellied, is more likely to be active and provide us with some insights into their incredible ability to stalk and get close to their prey. I have just ended up back on this little 2-track that takes us down to what used to be a hyena den site, and I'm sure it will be again in the future. The hyena that use it have obviously relocated to another den, and that is normal for them to bounce between different dens. They become full of parasites over time, and when they leave, the parasites have no reason to continue existing in there, so they move out for a month or so, a couple of weeks, and then let Mother Nature naturally clean out their home. And sadly, we haven't located where the new hyena den site could be. So in about a minute's time, if that, we're very close now, we will be in the exact position where we left him this morning. Let's hope he's here. Okay, well, exactly over here on this bare patch of soil to our right is where we did leave him this morning. Now this morning that was in shade, and now as you can see it's in sunlight, so he may still be nearby and would have just relocated to a different patch of shade potentially. We'll just drive around a little bit in this area, but I am not hugely surprised that he's no longer here. I did have a feeling he would be gone. I could just see a piece of bark from a marula tree swaying in the wind, which is not a sight we get very often, and I was wondering if it wasn't a kill or a piece of meat dangling down from the tree. Sadly not. Okay, now what I'm going to have to do is spend a little bit of time on foot and just establish if I can't find a track of his pointing us in which direction he did move in. Just chat with Mark and see what he's up to. Mark, how are you doing? Okay, copy. We have had no luck with quarantine in his last position, so I wouldn't mind getting out and looking for some tracks. Do you mind if we come across to you? Okay, copy. Perfect. Thanks. Okay folks, well, Mark's down at Treehouse Dam, and while I get out and have a look for some tracks here, why don't we go across to him, and we will catch up with you a bit later. So over to Mark, and we will hopefully have some good news for you shortly.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark. I'm just changing my eyes so that I can see you. It's a lovely, bright, sunny afternoon, and well, we've got some Weermans on campus this afternoon, and we're hoping that between the 5 of us, we're hoping we can find some exciting things for a Sunday afternoon. So the two of us, we're going to start out our afternoon this afternoon by following up on leopards we each Djuma, who's somewhere down. Not going to be as easy. Yeah, it's just this treehouse area. Cuckoo, African or European. It's landed again in that albizia, that false thorn. It's going to be a little bit far. There's a second cuckoo that's just get a close view of it. We needed to see the color of the beak and how much of the beak.
Welcome back, and sorry we weren't quite ready for you there, but Mark's signal is causing trouble, and sadly that is just the vehicle that is on Giga for some reason does not pick up as good a signal as Zanele, and that's why we do swap between her from time to time, or almost daily. We just take turns to get better coverage. We are still looking around this area for quarantine where we left him. I did go for a short walk, but sometimes you just have to accept that you're not in a good area to track leopard, and this is one of them. It's got such hard ground, and the small little riverbed that runs through it is so grassy that you can't actually see any tracks. There are a few areas that if he were to step there, yes, you would see them, but sadly he didn't step in any of those sandy areas. So we're not sure which direction he's headed in, but we are going to continue to check around this area. So now the plan is to go up and check the major road junction that he could have headed through, where 4 roads all meet, and if we don't have any luck there, I'm not sure what we'll do. Potentially head back to quarantine clearings, and hence the reason why it's called quarantine. He does spend a lot of time in those clearings, and it is usually the way leopards get named. They get named after an area or a road or a territory where they may spend a lot of time. And the place where he does that is the quarantine clearings, hence his name. So we did drive through there on the way here to double check if he hadn't already got there, and we didn't see any sign of him. Okay, now this road that I'm getting onto now, I'm going to have to check closely for any tracks. And thankfully it is quite a nice sandy road, so if he did indeed walk down it, I'm confident that I'd actually be able to see his pug marks. Sadly, nothing yet. So, this is the major four-way junction, where I was hoping we may find some of his tracks, but I do think if he did continue towards quarantine, it would have been further down to our right, and we already did drive that road. So, what we will do is a big loop back to quarantine clearings. We don't know what we'll bump into along the way, and that is the thing that's important to remember when we are tracking animals. It may seem like that's all we're interested in, but it's not. It's just a goal that we're working towards, and happy to see anything else in between. And if we don't spend time or invest a lot of time tracking these animals, we won't be able to show them to you nearly as often as we do. And yes, sometimes we are lucky, there are lots of sightings of the predators, but other times we have to work very hard. So it's best for us to try and keep as constant a tab on them as possible, and that way be able to not lose track of the general area that they're in. I hope Mark does have some luck on relocating Kunyuma, the other leopard, the brother of the one we're looking for. It does have an impala kill, and that will hopefully anchor it into a reasonably set position. But even this morning it did move a fair distance away from the kill, so it could still be not on site where the kill is, making it more difficult to find. But the fact that there is a kill there is very good for increasing the chances of seeing that leopard this afternoon. So even if we don't have luck with quarantine, there's a good chance the leopard's going to pop up into the screen a bit later, and that could well be Kunyuma. There was a report from one of the guides that there were monkeys alarm calling at Djuma waterhole, so we might move down into that area if we don't have any luck here. It is close by, so it could well be the same animal we're looking for that the monkeys were alarming at, or potentially his mother, Karula. So Mark is busy making his way through the riverbed where he last saw Kunyuma, so hopefully we'll have an update shortly from him if he's got lucky over there. There's a beautiful cool breeze blowing this afternoon, which myself and Brian are thoroughly enjoying. Without a breeze on a day like this, we would be cooking. So the elephants pushed down that tree that was in the middle of the road, causing us to do a small diversion. We actually went around the same tree this morning. And the lodge manager we'll give them an update that this tree is down, and they will what they will do is make sure that they've got a maintenance team that comes out here and they'll chop the tree up with a chainsaw and then, or drag it out the way with the tractor to prevent making a myriad of roads here. The quarantine clearings that we are just coming into now, and onto the wrong little track, so I'm going to just bunderbash a little bit to get onto the road. I believe it's somewhere down. could you be? There's no sign of quarantine in his last position this morning. Working the general area. For those of you who don't know, he was left lying up the old hyena den south of Zoe's. Just giving the game drivers an update that we haven't had any luck so far, which is important for them to plan into their afternoon as well. There's a small riverbed that runs down on our right hand side where they've spent a lot of time. Go ahead. Negative, Mark still following up on Kunyuma, and I am still following up on quarantine. Let's see where this little pathway takes us. It just tugs a little bit closer to this riverbed, which is a likely place for an animal to be, because it is nice at this stage of the day, because it is nice and cool down in the riverbeds. And the more places we explore and poke our heads into, the more likely we are of finding something. So let's see what happens over here. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit more sandy down in this riverbed, and then it would be useful for me to go and check for tracks, but sadly it is very thick. Oh, I'm stuck. I'm going to have to come in the same way I left. The nice thing about these open Land Rovers, you can just jump in any way that suits you. But there are quite a few bushes against my door, so that was the easiest route. The nice thing about exploring these different little pathways, they're not roads, but they're openings that you know the vehicle can get down, is that if we were to follow any animal off-road in this area, we now know that this is a good spot for us to link ahead and potentially relocate on animals. Okay, now what to do next? We have now looped through all the roads into areas where he could be, and sadly haven't had any sign of him, not even one single track. So he could be between roads, he could have headed in the opposite direction to what I've assumed he has. Either way, sadly at this point we don't have any intel as to where exactly he could be. So the options are to do another big loop through the general area that we've just moved through, or to move out of the area completely. And I'm leaning towards maybe doing one more loop through the area, because we know that there is a leopard in this general vicinity, whereas if we go into a new area we are completely unsure, but we may find other things there. Having said that though, there's not many large profile animals moving around here at the moment. There were no tracks of lion on the property this morning, and not many elephants around at the moment, so focusing on this leopard for a while may be a good option. The squeak. So we've been doing some maintenance, or trying to do some maintenance on these vehicles, and in doing so a squeak has formed in the steering wheel, which sadly is getting picked up very well by the microphone right over here. So apologies for that, and thanks for reminding me, Brian. Sadly, we only realized about it as we got out this afternoon, so there was no time to do anything about it. Okay folks, so I've just got a message through from Alex in the final control saying that the tech guys, I think in Cape Town, need to do a quick amendment to the stream. It should only take about a minute, possibly 2 or 3, but don't go anywhere. We are going to hopefully be coming back with a much better signal, and obviously the tech guys are doing it for a reason. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but we are going to be all around the world. Just got a question through from James in Kansas City asking whether sundowners were a normal activity out here on an afternoon drive. Good afternoon, James. And yes, indeed, unless you are viewing something spectacular, which does happen often, I guess, you would take that time to get out, stretch your legs. 3 hours, 4 hours is a kind of general game drive length. So to be seated for that period of time is not ideal. So good to get out, stretch the legs a little bit, have a drink, enjoy watching the sun go down, and depending on which lodge you go to, but most of them put on quite a spread in terms of the drinks available to you. and sometimes even bring along a few snacks. So they're very nice parts of the safari, and sadly one that is very difficult for us to share with you, so that's why we don't. But both the sundowner stop and also a morning coffee stop is common. So you can stop for a coffee. Sometimes the Amarula liqueur finds its way into the coffee, a very good combination, and I guess for the guests, they are on holiday. Although I do know one or two guides that religiously have an Amarula and coffee every day that they're on safari to start off their morning. Okay, now I'm doing another loop. We came in on this road as we went live, basically. You followed us along, well, we were driving along this road. And I'm just going to check even more closely now for his tracks, because I'm hoping that we can just find one or two. That's all we need to point us in the right direction. Mark, are you going to head back and join Ephraim? I saw a little branch poking up and I thought it could have been the head of a leopard. Okay folks, well, Mark's in on some action, so over to Mark. I'm not sure what it is, but shortly you'll be with him and enjoy whatever he has.
Not really as hot as it is on the road as it is here amongst the grasses and under the shade of the marulas, and it appears to be back here since we were here this morning. And Ephraim is for me. I'm very lucky that he did, because he went a little exploring a little bit and actually has found him. Must be here somewhere underneath this bush. Just behind this marula tree. I think we're just going to, his ears are flat, I think his tail's twitching. He really doesn't like us. He's seen the other vehicles, he knows the shapes of the big game drive vehicles, but he's a cat that doesn't know the jigger. So he's now hiding. I had to stop right there because had I carried on it would have really spooked him too much. So he's ducking under that marula. Have you still got him? Just a little bit. He's going to probably do the same thing he did this morning. Don't hide. Which way to go? You think he's laid down again? Oh. Ah, I see there. I can't see him just yet, but we're back with Kunyuma. We're looking into the sun. I think I need to do something very, and that is actually give him a lot of space, because I think this has been a bit too much in his face. So what I'd like to do is just move away a little bit. He's hot, he's panting. He's clearly been moving because of the presence of vehicles, and I don't want him to, I want him to sort of relax completely. I want to keep my distance a little bit. I don't know how we'll get him on camera by keeping our distance, but it is a hot afternoon. He's not likely to be wanting to move much. There's nowhere I can go. The only place I can go is where we have been. If he lets us sit here, that's great. We're looking. So we got a shot through there, yeah? And oh, he is panting, it is hot, but I think if we sit quietly, then he'll relax. He has obviously been doing a bit of a round trip this morning. We followed him almost up to Treehouse Dam. And it could have been that he was just leading us away. But if there's one thing I can say about where he is right now, his mother has taught him well. And he's hiding in relatively thick bush. There's no need for him to be out in the heat. I don't think I would have found him. I think I would have come, if I'd come to the kill, I would have just left instead of looking around at likely hiding places. So there we go. Hello, Boyki. Are you getting more relaxed with us now? Yeah, he's baring his teeth. But the fact that he's come out is a remarkable development. Hello, my man. Look at that. See, just a little bit of trust. Hello, boy. Yeah. Okay, I see you. Sit on that branch, you know, that fallen marula you can sit on. Yeah. When he looks at me, I kind of close my eyes and look down a little bit, rather than just stare at him. Some people have asked if I ever look at a leopard. Yeah, you see, you want to lie on that branch, you want to drape yourself on that branch in the heat like a leopard. Yeah, I'll be fine. See, we're your friends. You're looking at the world, young leopard. Albeit slightly obscured. I can't move right now, and sadly his face is obscured by this branch. And I hope you understand that if I started the car when he was just beginning to trust us like that, that it would have spoiled it. But he'll still look back at the camera again. There you go. Happy Sunday everybody from Kunyuma, young male leopard. One of Karula's boys. It's so amazing for me to be with one of Karula's boys, meeting him at this age. Having watched Mission and Duna grow up, because I think we arrived here at about the same time in the beginning of December of 2008. And now I can move a little bit so we can, because now he's fine. Now he's relaxed a little bit with us. I'm just going to move ever so slightly to get a better view of him. So I'm trying to think here, maybe just a little bit back, or maybe a little bit forward. Forward, I think. You can close your eyes a little bit, leopard boy. And see, we've got that grass, and we've got that leaf, and then we've got leaves. So we have to have not that bright grass, but maybe the happy medium is there, the wind blowing. Welcome to the world of leopards, everybody. This is the world of live leopard. Nowhere else in the world can you have a leopard on a live camera or nowhere else in Africa, because it can't be anywhere else in the world, but an incredible moment, especially since it's, oh sorry, my volume's been down. Sorry Alex, my volume's been down. I've been with leopard. Question came in from John in Connecticut. Hi there, John. Early morning Connecticut. And I agree, John's saying he's a beautiful creature. And how old is he? Well, I agree. He is a magnificent leopard. I can only imagine what he's going to look like with the genes of his mother and his father. His mother is Karula, and his father is a leopard by the name of Mvula. At least I believe it is. Mvula that is responsible for his genetic makeup, or half of it at least. And he's 2 years old, or he's just over 2 years old. I believe he was born in late 2012. His brother is a leopard that was also seen this morning. Scott has been looking for him. His brother is a leopard by the name of Quarantine Male. Mostly on account of that area we call Quarantine, which is near the camp. He's got very pale eyes, this boy. Look, see, he's softening his eyes now. That's totally accepting. A little bit of a, yeah, I think he's starting to accept us now. Yes, but if there was ever a sort of whatever message from a leopard, that was it. Sort of looked at us and said whatever and turned his head. But yes, he's been feeding. This impala is pretty much done, almost. I'd say 80% of the carcass has been eaten, and it's all by him. It appears that he's been there since we were here this morning, which was most of the afternoon, I suppose, which goes to show you can't really go by the idea that leopard are nocturnal and secretive. Now he would be the fourth litter from Karula. Her first litter was a pair of, rather her first litter were a pair of girls, oh no, were. She had two girls for her first litter. Two boys. Yes, hissing at us a little bit. He's accepting, but he's just telling me to keep my distance, that I must probably not talk so loud. The panting is from all the eating. The panting is also due to the heat. So the panting is a two-fold thing. He's hot, he's full, and he's probably just a tad uncomfortable. That doesn't mean that he's been running, or in fact he's quite relaxed right now. Occasionally he opens his eyes and looks at us and hisses. I don't know, maybe it was looking more at you than me. You didn't get the camera, the big round eye. Okay, well, that's nice to have him more relaxed now, and I think it bodes well for maybe in the afternoon to see what's going to transpire. What he's doing with his eyes now is what I call softening eyes. That's what cats do when they look at you and they're accepting of you. I've noticed it with, but he's accepting only to the point that we're in his space. Doesn't mean I can get out of the vehicle and go and pet him. It is only as this entity of being the vehicle in the camera vehicle that he's accepting our presence as such, because he knows what vehicles are. He's been born to the presence of vehicles. Oh, Scott, did you copy that? And a unique opportunity as well for those of you new to watching live leopards here in Africa and getting getting hooked on the lives of so many cats, lion, leopard, cheetah, and the wild dog and elephants, and well, a lot of the wildlife that lives in this vast wilderness that we call the Greater Kruger National Park. A lot of these cats are followed by so many people that they have Facebook pages, and they have a following of people who like to keep up with their lives, and a lot of the guides post photographs of them as they go through their lives, and we of course like to film them. And key to all of that is actually being able to identify them and giving me the look now, and be able to differentiate the individuals. And with leopard it's fairly easy, because it's, well, their spot patterns are as unique as our fingerprints. Yes, Boyki. Just letting us know that he wants us to just keep our distance. Go. Just interesting question from Michael. Thanks for the tweet, Michael. Michael was saying, looks like leopard groom themselves more than lion. Well, look at that classic pose. Now, as much as I would love to move, we got to live with the grasses we get in front of his face. It's summer, and it's, what are those? Herbs and forbs and grasses. Bound to happen until he climbs the tree, and we maybe get to see him in the tree, which will be a little bit later this afternoon. But maybe it does appear that leopard groom themselves more than lion. I think lion to a large extent rely a lot on allo grooming, others lions to groom them, which is a process that is almost like it's reciprocal, that if you groomed you need to groom back, payback. Off he goes. I'm talking too much. Going back to his tree, and we're going to miss him climbing up the tree unless I can get there quick enough. Or just in line with the tree so we can see it. I guess he also is thinking that maybe it's time, late afternoon, we're getting time to go back up the tree just in case there's some nasties that come around looking, like the ones who killed his siblings or sibling. Are you waiting for me so we can film you? That's very nice of you, boy. No, I'm stopped. I promise. Don't look at me like that. I stopped. You can carry on. Yeah, there you go. Go back up your tree. Or go wherever you were going. More shade. Maybe it was my voice he didn't like. Oh, always behind the bush. He just wants to be closer to his tree. Then if, as the afternoon wears on, I'm guessing, I mean, how am I to know what his real motivation is, but I'm guessing that maybe it's just, it's getting later, it's going to be time when other things are going to be moving around. He needs a quick escape route, getting up the tree again. It was smelling this morning. There's not very much there. There's the head and neck and the two front legs. He's probably already dropped the hind legs. And so there are going to be hyenas sniffing around later. I'm pretty sure about that. Well, that's a very good question. A wonderful question. Speculative question. Do I think that the boys might stay in her territory a little bit longer now that she hasn't got any cubs? And so, well, Linda from Central Texas. Hello, Linda. How are you? Hope you're enjoying Kunyuma this afternoon. Think of it, anything is possible. I mean, we saw how Induna hung around for so long. I think Mishu was the first one to move on, and this was Karula's second litter of 2 boys. Their names were Mishu and Induna, and they were pretty much, they were born when I arrived. So when I left, they were already well into their 3rd year. And how they interacted with their new siblings, and how the arrival of their new siblings actually didn't influence their positions at all. They still stayed around for a while. I think Mishu moved on, and then Induna was around for quite a while. Induna was the one that we saw interacting with not only his father Yambila Jordan, but also with his 2 new siblings. There was a wonderful moment on the termite mound just off Triple M, where he was sitting on the termite mound. Karula with Shavinzi and Shivambalana were lying off to the side, and little Shavinzi got up and she sort of tentatively strode up the side of the termite mound and gently tapped him on the nose, and it was just such a wonderful moment. It was sort of the antithesis of what we experienced with Karula recently. And let's see, I don't think he likes me talking. That isn't a snub, and I don't know what is. Still, we're gonna just sit quietly and see what he does. Wind's starting to pick up a little bit. I do need to keep quiet for a bit. You can hear the bird sounds and the wind blowing. He's not looking exceptionally full, which makes me confirm that this kill has been a number of days that it's been up there, for it to be a fairly large impala like that. Medium-sized impala, I guess. Most of it is gone. It would take a couple of days. Welcome to Africa, welcome to our world of leopards here at Djuma Game Reserve. He's sitting with a leopard underneath his kill in a tree, a big marula tree. He's naturally cautious. Claire. Hello, Claire. Claire's in Pennsylvania. This just shows where we're reaching this afternoon. Questions from all over. Nice to hear from you, by the way. Claire in Pennsylvania was asking if leopards have scent glands in their mouth. Not really. I mean, their saliva alone is a sort of has its own scent. But perhaps what they do have is maybe what you're referring to. I might be wrong or presumptuous, but are there receptors that they have in the back of the mouth, sort of the back of the throat? There is an organ that is a scent receptor. In fact, it is a pheromone receptor. It's an important organ in terms of the survival of every species, in fact, of mammal, might I add, not everything. It's known as a vomeronasal organ, and it's sort of right at the back of the throat, probably where the nasal cavity joins the throat. And it is designed to pick up the female estrus pheromone. And to access that organ, animals have to lift their heads and almost snarl, almost grimace. Nothing like, he's just painting now. He's not doing it now, and occasionally lifts his head to sniff the wind, but no, he's not doing it now. But we have seen some animals doing it recently, and we'll point it out to you again in future drives. That act of breathing in the scent of the female in estrus. It's known as phlegmen, F-L-E-H-M-E-N, and that act, that grin that we see, or that snarl that some people misinterpret, is actually called the phlegmen grimace, being able to access the Jacobson's organ. And in fact, I've mentioned, I think, on previous drives, an author by the name of Lyle Watson. And Lyle Watson wrote a book about the Jacobson's organ, and I still have to read it, actually. My brother raved about it for a long time, and I never got to read it, never got to find it. But that's a poor excuse, because there's Amazon and Kalahari.com. I'll get there one day. So perhaps that's what it is that they have this receptor for scent in their mouth, technically in their mouth, just not. Repeat that, please. No problem. Look at that tail. How close can we get on that tail? This tail of a leopard that has a mind of its own. It gives away mood and intent. And it's probably responsible for half their kills being unsuccessful, because as they're stalking, that tail just flicks up unannounced, showing that little curl of white, and chases the animals away. It's a cat. It's a Sunday. Well, no, that doesn't really matter to the cat, but it's a sunny summer afternoon. Just happens to be a Sunday. Sunday fun day. But for a cat, it's just a summer, sunny afternoon, and we just have to be patient. We're sitting with one of Africa's iconic cats. Beautiful marula tree that we're looking at now. In the center of your screen is the marula that has the carcass draped over the sort of the second fork. We are a little bit awkward because we're on the southwestern side, or rather southeastern side of the tree, so we're looking more or less northwest, west to northwest. So we have the late afternoon sun off to the left that's giving us shadow from this angle. But we need to be sitting here because he's also on the eastern side of a tree to give him shade. Must be quite cool in these fresh grasses. And probably a lot cooler than it is up the tree. Sometimes they do lie in the tree in a breeze. But perhaps now in the shade with the moisture around, it's probably a lot cooler down on the ground. There isn't very much of a breeze. There's a little bit of air movement, and every now and then it picks up to a little whiff, or rather a little whoosh of a, not even a breeze, less than a breeze, and then dies down. You can hear the cicadas, an indicator that it's a lovely hot humid afternoon. They're very active. Cicadas. And he's getting the nods. Looks like he might have a nap. Question from Palm City, and I'm not sure where Palm City is. I might be presumptuous in saying something like Nevada or Florida. Yeah, well, that would be my next guess, I guess. Where else are with palm trees? Kunyuma and quarantine male, how would they react towards each other at this age? Now, that's a good question. When I think back to Mission in Duna, in fact, there was, right here where we are, there were two marulas where they had a kill, and one was in one tree and the other was in another tree, and they were snarling at each other. But that was over a kill, as cats do when they're on food. There were other times when they were fine together. So I think that they would probably bear each other's company. They might even interact briefly. There's no real telling. This is there's an open door of possibilities of what could transpire should these boys meet. It depends. I didn't want to use it depends, but it sneaked out. That word just sneaked out. But it would. There would be influencing factors that would change things considerably. If it was over a kill where one boy had made a kill and the other hadn't, there would be aggression. If they were both fairly hungry and there wasn't, let's put it this way, if there wasn't food on the table, probably wouldn't really matter. They would probably be quite amicable. The wonderful thing about a question like that is that we can only wait and see if we're going to actually witness the two boys meeting up again. Now, there has been a little bit of a breeze blowing. We're on Weaver's Nest. This breeze that has been blowing sort of heads up Weaver's Nest towards Philemon's Dip, towards the direction that his brother actually was this morning. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he does pick up a whiff of not so fresh impala and starts to come and investigate. The likelihood of him doing it is not really great because he knows that the hyena are going to do pretty much the same thing. But it's possible. The beauty about a question like that is also if we wait and we see it, we would be able to see any number of different combinations of behavior under different circumstances, because it's inevitable. The fact that they are still within mom's territory and they're still hanging around, it's inevitable that their paths are going to cross and they are going to be in the same place at some point. They were last week, in fact, when just after Karula had that devastating loss of her cub, they had that impala and the impala lamb, the two kills in the tree and off that big jackalberry. And as far as I'm aware, both boys were there at some point. They must have interacted. Sadly, I didn't get to witness that. A nice breeze picking up now. That is now a very relaxed leopard catching flies. And a wonderful transformation. He's looking at us and he's not even lifting his lips and not even giving us a hiss. He's chosen now a slightly greater personal distance. Maybe that's what it is that we were in a little bit tight where we first arrived here, and we might have been just encroaching on his personal space. Well, there's no might about it. I think we were, but that was the only place we could see him, and he had the choice to allow us there or not, and he did. But he just kept letting us know that he wasn't comfortable with it. But now he's moved a little bit further away into a slightly different area, closer to the tree where his kill is, and he's far more comfortable with this distance. So I'm comfortable with this distance. I don't want to push him. I have no need to get closer. In fact, right now I've got no need to move because there are a couple of blades of grass. There's a beautiful grass flower just up to the left of his head, which is the bottlebrush grass. Really stunning when there's a whole field of them in this late afternoon light. And then I think that's Digitaria to the right. Might be wrong. I'd actually love to see them together. I haven't seen them together at all since I've been here, so they've been pretty independent for, I guess, for a couple of months now. Very good point raised by Kim in Chicago. So that's Chicago. Very interesting point. Kim is saying how different these two boys are in their acceptance or rather their behavior towards the vehicles, where he's always a little bit testy, he's always a little bit otherwise. Whereas his brother, Quarantine Male, is just so relaxed with the vehicles, even comes closer to the vehicles, and just reinforcing that the truth of each animal is an individual. They're not machines. You can't take the behavior of one individual and apply that to the entire species. Each animal is a character, each animal is a soul and a person trapped in a little animal's body, or big. But I think what it is also is that they just have different requirements. Look, he's fine now. He's quite happy now. In fact, this morning when he took a rush at the vehicle, he ended in a playful mood, so it was almost like, I was angry with you, but I didn't really mean to snap at you. Don't know if we were live when that happened, but at some point this morning, he rushed out at us and then sort of bounded off to the side. Comfortable. He's a little restless, but he's giving you a fairly good show of his spot patterns. anywhere you want to choose, whether it's that big square spot next to his ear or any spot that you look at will be unique to him. And you can't always depend on the eye pattern or the facial markings, because much like now was the only opportunity we had of seeing him. We would only be able to identify him by something that we can see. From this lovely summer scene, we're going to take you to something else entirely different. And so, with no further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Scott, and he's got something to show you. And we will keep an eye on Kunyuma and see how things progress here, and we'll see you a little bit later.
Just zoom in fully to him. Okay, well, welcome back to myself and Brian. We have come back to the paradise flycatcher nest that we sat at for a few hours yesterday afternoon. We were desperate to show you guys it, so that is where we've made ourselves to while you've been enjoying what sounds like an incredible sighting with Kunyuma and Mark, which I'm really happy about now. Excuse me, you can see in this bush that Brian's panning across to, and within this bush, as he zooms in, you will slowly see the tiny little cup-shaped nest and the beautiful orange flycatcher with the blue mantle, blue head, incubating her eggs in all likelihood. Now I do have an idea of what shot you're getting, because I did check before we came live. But sadly my monitor isn't working, so I'm not sure of what Brian's movements are at any given stage, but I'm fairly sure he's fully zoomed in on it now. And we didn't want to risk getting any closer in case it flew out. We're probably only 6 meters away from it. And the reason why I know it's the female is because she lacks a long orange tail streamer. Which the males do have. And it would be great to see the male come back to the nest area, because he is really spectacular. What I'll do is I'll get the book out in the meantime to show you what this bird looks like when it's not sitting in the nest, and also to show you how to differentiate between the male and the female. But what an incredible little nest that it's managed to build there. Really pretty. And here you can see the male with the very long tail streamer that sadly the female lacks. That's the female sitting behind. And you'll also, hopefully I think you can pick up this little blue ring they have around their eyes. Incredibly pretty birds. And they do share incubation and feeding duty, so there's a chance that the male will come back and take over from her at some stage. Maybe not today, but maybe in the course of the next week or so we will get to see the male on the nest. They sadly are not easy birds to see, and unless they are in a nest like this, they're quite shy and secretive. Brian, there's a woodlands kingfisher that keeps flying down to bathe itself in the water just close to this left-hand log here. So if we go down onto it, it may do it one more time for us. and we'll see a beautiful woodlands kingfisher bomb diving into the water. It is a risk, because usually they only do it about twice or 3 times to wet themselves and then do a bit of preening. But this one's kept on at it, and it might be worth trying to capture this, because it'll be really cool if we do. Unbelievable that they managed to fly, plonk themselves into the water and take off immediately. Come on, one more time for us. It looks like it may have finished up with the bathing now. It seems to be ruffling its feathers quite extensively to dry them, so I'm not sure if it's going to do another plunge for us. But we'll give it a few more seconds. Sadly, I think it is done with its bathing, so we'll just show you one last shot of this paradise flycatcher on her nest, and then continue on to see what else we can find. In all likelihood, Mark will potentially leave that sighting of Kunyuma, as he needs to get the fireside chat started up and going. So there's a chance that he may leave there in the next few minutes, and myself and Brian will then head back there to see if we can potentially get a little bit more action out of Kunyuma as it cools down. I do believe you did get to see some of him feeding on the impala kill that he made, which is great, but I'm not sure exactly how long you did get to see him feed for, and I believe your last view of him was him lying up under a bush, which may change as it cools down. Let me just chat with him. Mark, are you still with Kunyuma? And maybe you could do a quick sign out from there just before you set up the fireside chats. Are you still with Kunyuma? Exactly. We're pretty much done here with the paradise flycatcher, so maybe we can link back to you and we'll start making our way there, and as soon as you're ready to head to FC, we will take over on our way there. Okay folks, so while we start making our way towards Kunyuma, it'll be great if you go over to Mark, have one last look of both Mark and Kunyuma before the fireside chats, and then myself and Brian will catch up with you a little bit later.
Well, welcome back everybody. We managed to move a little bit, and he's allowed us to move to a different position, so we got a little bit more light on him, moving a little off to the side as the sun starts going down. I have to excuse myself for a minute. I have to just contact someone who's calling me. Okay, well no, I don't think they can call again. I think they're coming this way. We actually tried to move in a way that we didn't have any grasses in the way, and it's just he keeps moving. I'm just going to go back a little bit. Yeah, he's not looking, but he's listening to what we're doing. Here's a turn back. He's pretending to ignore me. This dappled sunlight that's flickering off of his coat. Oh, time to get up. Are we going to go climb a tree? Oh, we're going to put grass in front of our face again. Giving us a show this afternoon for a leopard that is usually a little bit shy, and a leopard that we don't really get. I haven't seen him relaxed like this before. So from one flycatcher to another. And through patience we eventually get to see him not even worrying about what we're doing. By sitting here quietly, he's now just gazing around and not really concerned at all about what we're doing. Certainly not as much as it was the first time he saw us this morning. Even if he'd seen us before, I think he's still been pretty unsure of what we're about. We are a different shape to the other vehicles. It might be a little different for him. Also the intensity of the focus that is on him, I'm sure in terms of energy, I'm sure he can feel that amount of focus on him. The fact that he's being watched by people all over the world. Not that he knows it, I'm just saying that I'm sure that that adds to the whole energy of the jigger and what we represent or what we project. Is this going to be it? This is possibly going to be that moment that he goes back upstairs. I'm hoping that I'm positioned well enough that we're going to see it from here, because I don't want to change his mind. Got to have a scratch first. Go now, boy, before the other vehicles arrive, because then you're going to be fine in the tree. Cuckoo in the background. scratching. Looks like he's spraying a little bit. Scratching in the grass. I can hardly see him behind that, behind the tree, roundleaf teak. He's toileting, I think. Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's insistent on his privacy. And then going to lie down again. Guess he's not going up the tree. Or maybe he's just going to lie down. Okay. I get it. Wow. Don't ever ask me to compare something like this to a sighting with an elephant or something. You can't compare things. I could just feel wheels turning that that question was forthcoming. It's very hard to... so let me think of a different strategy here. Where do you want light? Should we go around to the western side? I'll pick him up from there. This late afternoon light is the best for a leopard. Can't get to the eastern, rather the other side. Unless we go all the way around. Different light. Shelley in Ontario. Wanting to know if it's possible to approach a leopard on a walking safari. Which is quite a good question, because it actually is the kind of thing that you would apply to all animals, really. You don't approach anything to a point. There's only so much you can do when you're on foot in invading animal spaces without invoking their right to defend themselves. So you've always got to think of the fight and flight possibility, and most of the time it's going to be fight. So you don't approach animals because they will try and defend themselves before they need to defend themselves, purely because we are human and we're not a strange oddity to them. They just feel threatened by us. Normally on a walking safari, when you find animals like leopard and lion and buffalo, actually most animals, the idea of a walking safari is actually to not interfere in an animal's natural movements and natural behavior, to be able to try and observe it on foot and be as stealthy as you need to be so that you can observe an animal and it doesn't even know that you were observing it. Because if you're going to approach it, you're going to change its behavior, it's going to become aggressive, and you're not observing the animal other than it defending itself, which is your presence in the first place. It's kind of a hard thing. But yes, one doesn't really approach any animal. No animal does that in nature. The only animals that approach others are predators after prey, so everything gets defensive when you do try to approach things. And so often have I heard of stories of people approaching, whether it is antelope or animals in Africa or North America or Australia or Asia, no matter where it is, where humans, perhaps even out of the goodness of their heart, think to go and approach an animal is to go and touch it, but it is invariably going to end up that the animal is going to try and defend itself. So with leopard, it's not a very good idea at all. I had a friend once who was convinced that she could walk up to a herd of elephants. She was convinced that they would know the goodness in her heart. Thank goodness she didn't get to test that theory, because no amount of trying to explain to her that no matter how much goodness you have in your heart, the elephants are not going to recognize you for that. They're going to recognize you as a human approaching them. Or if it's a leopard, they're going to recognize you exactly as what you are, a human approaching them with obviously only one intent. And so they become defensive, aggressively defensive. And he's now relaxed enough with us that he's actually taking a nap. Well, he was till I spoke. Sorry, did I wake you? Go back to sleep. Thank you. Big sigh. He has to be attentive. Of course, to go to sleep and to be almost switched off to the world would be detrimental to his health, to say the least. So, although he might appear to be napping, he is certainly saving a lot of energy, but he's also very aware of everything around him. He was fine until that oriole started calling, and then the oriole flew to another tree and called again, and then he put his head up to look around a little bit. Most of the ambient sound that we hear probably gets switched off In the same way as like a domestic cat can sleep through all the noise of a household and filter it all out until it hears a flap of a feather or a squeak of a mouse. Okay, I'll try to talk on the radio. Come round. Cecilia. Almost makes me want to break out into song. But Cecilia's got a great question actually, asking if leopard are able to lick the fur off of the skin of their prey. We're going to have to come around a little bit more, Kubus. You're going to need to move a little bit if he does manage to get through there. I don't know if he can, but I'm trying to guide one of the landowners into the sighting. Okay, well we need to, sorry, I need to, I don't think he likes too much movement. I'm just going to move out of the way because there's other vehicles coming in. Give him space. Okay, copied. There is another vehicle there trying to get into the sighting. It's quite a tight sighting at the moment. I'm just going to have to guide him in first. Okay, let's see if we can pick him up again. I think they can see him. Hi Clancy, how's a hire today? Wanting to know if leopard can get TB the way lion can. I don't think so, Clan. I think one of the chief carriers of TB are of course a buffalo, and I guess it's possible that maybe leopard feeding on buffalo carcasses could. I'd have to look into it to see if there are any incidents. But I personally, I don't know the answer to that, I'm afraid. I'd have to look into that. We're going to be handing over to Scott shortly. And he'll come in and take our place. Liam and I need to go and set up for fireside chat. We'll be doing a fireside chat tonight, just under an hour's time. And then the saga can continue from the other vehicle. Maybe we'll get to see him climb up into the tree later on, closer to sunset. Be really a beautiful sight to see. I've been very lucky to be able to spend this time here. Always that big sigh when he lies down. You can see there's almost still a little layer of baby fluff on his tummy. Yeah, stand by there, Scott. I'm going to come out and then you can come in. We're going to start moving out. Yes, this is Mark. I'm going to start moving out. Scott's going to be coming in. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, well, we'll see you another time, Kunyuma, but everybody else will see you shortly. his nose. He's barely lifting his head as we leave. Without disturbing him, because he's now flat cat. There's another vehicle. We're going to try and find our way out. Let Scott come in, as I say, and we're going to go make a fire and take some camera equipment and speakers, and I can't go that way because of the log. Because of the log, so Scott's going to just have to wait until I can get out of there. I don't want to go pushing trees over, so we're going to have to try and find our way out the hard way. Guess we'll just have to sneak by through here. Who it is. You can see where he's moving, just off of his, well, I guess he's coming out, unless he's chased him, but...
Okay, cool, thanks Mark.
Just on the northeastern side of the Marula, probably about 20 feet. He was lying down there.
Thank you very much.
And he's aiming to go back up, you can see it.
Okay.
But it's still probably a little bit early.
Wonderful. Well, thanks very much for letting us in.
Cool.
I'm very excited.
And we'll see you at the fireplace for later.
I look forward to that too.
Okay.
See you later. Okay. Now you're with us, and I'm really looking forward to getting in here. The other vehicle in the sighting with you, I can see, is also making its way out. It looks like, or they are repositioning. No, it looks like they're just reaching. So we will start making. Let's see what happens. I must admit, I did drive down this road yesterday and we did not see the impala in the tree, which is a pity, but it's not the easiest one to spot, and it just goes to show you that even though we are searching, we can miss things like this. So a little bit frustrated with myself, but thankful that we are lucky enough to be getting to enjoy the second day in all likelihood that this killer's been here. I'm just going to let the other vehicle get into position, and then we will follow suit. Rather than having two vehicles moving at once, we'll just do one at a time. I think he might be offering us the best spots. He is. He's such a nice guy. And sorry about that crash. You thankfully did not miss anything, and it allowed us a moment to get into what we think is the perfect position. Now you may be wondering what on earth I'm talking about saying that it's the best possible spot. We are predicting that hopefully he's going to go back up the tree, and when and if he does do that, the spot we're in now we believe is the best. It doesn't matter where we positioned us now, because he is lying flat in the grass. We are going to have a limited visual. So well, the good news is that Mark has found something on his way home, and rather than watching this leopard in the long grass, why don't you head across to Mark? Mark, we can cut across to you as soon as you're ready.
Yeah. So just a little bit of a break from Scott quickly, and look what I found. Coming to join us for fireside chat. This is my Sunday portrait to everybody who watches Wild Earth and Nat Geo Wild. And those of you, I think there's Ustream nowadays too. Welcome to my Africa. While we have a leopard sleeping not too far away, waiting to go and probably finish his kill. The sun sets on our open area with the grasses and an elephant, and a very fitting end to my drive, because now I'm going to be building a fire and setting up equipment with Vim. If I can tear myself away from an early sunset, let's try something here, Vim, before we go back to Scott and the spotted cat. He's got a hole in his ear. This marula's just in the way to get elephants and marulas, like peanut butter and jelly. Like moonlight and memories. Judging by what he's doing, looks like he's feeling around in the grasses and then throwing small things into his mouth. I'm guessing it's marula fruit, and there are all of these marulas here on the open area. Would be nice to Strange position, but I don't want to disturb him too much. Light is just too special. Something spooked him a little bit. Certainly wasn't us. We got the whiff of something, I think, with this wind that's starting to blow. Chasing something. You can see something in the grasses or something under a tree. He sort of threw his trunk and said, "Go away." I don't know what it is that he saw. There is only an impala, but that's too far away for him to have done that too. I think he really minds us. He's got these marulas to feed on. Afternoon, Mr. Ellie. Can we catch a sunset, please? An elephant sunset. Of course it's delaying things because now I can't make the fire and it's going to get dark. We're going to be late setting up for campfire, fireside chat. Jambo bwana jambo. Habari gani? Okay, my hand was in the way. Trying to block the sun out of my eyes. But now I've got an elephant instead of my hand. Okay. Elephant blocks the sun. Hello, big boy. Well, you're not so big. You're a youngster. You're only sort of 20-something-ish, if you're even 20. Oh, I just heard another marula fall down. He probably heard it too. I've known elephants that have lived with me in camps where we have doom palms, and of course the doom palms are much heavier fruit than the marula, and when they shake the doom palms, it's almost like they count the number of fruits that fall on the ground, because they will stand there feeling everywhere until they're quite sure that all the fruits have fallen. So I'm pretty sure that he's remembered that one fell over here. He might come looking for it, except it landed almost next to my door. Yeah, I can see one here in the grass, Mr. Ellie. Two. There's two here, just next to me. As you can see, he's not picking up any vegetation. He's just picking up little marula fruits, and he's doing a sort of a backflip toss into his mouth. See if we can capture that. Oops. I know, it's 6:25. Thanks. It's time for us to send you back to a leopard and say goodbye to a big bull ellie. So we can get ready. We're going to get a fireside chat going. And we will probably see him while we're setting up. I can see the little house on the prairie just about another maybe 50 yards up ahead. It is just here, somewhere. Just there behind these trees is the little shelter where we're going to be, so it's not far. So go back to Scott. We're going to go and get all the equipment we need. We're now running out of time, so Bye. Bye, Ellie.
Welcome back, folks. As you can see, the leopard is still flat in the grass. He has lifted up his head once or twice and looked up at the impala in the tree, and that is a sign that he is obviously thinking about gorging himself on a little bit more. Sadly, though, we have no idea when exactly that will happen. I'm hoping that within the next half an hour either that does happen, he climbs up the tree for us, which would be a beautiful sight, and secondly, something else that myself and Brian have just been chatting about is the fact that there's a chance hyena may arrive on scene at any stage. It's been a very windy day, so the scent from this carcass would have been carried far and wide, and I'm hoping that this may bring some hyena into the kill, which will certainly spice things up a little bit. For the hyena, they've got no chance of getting up to that impala, so the food is safe. They may sniff around below the tree and look for any little bits that may have dropped off. And I believe you did enjoy some beautiful shots of the sun setting with Mark along with the elephant bulls, so really enjoying having two vehicles out again. It allows us to bounce between one another, the two different vehicles, and that way bring you guys more content than we would have been doing with just the one. And this afternoon is a perfect example of how well it can work. What I can do is I can reposition the vehicle slightly, and that way hopefully get you a slightly better angle, but the grass is long and there's not much we can do other than wait. But let me see if this doesn't help Brian give you a slightly better shot, possibly a little bit more of its head, even though it will be in the grass. Now, if and when, oh, he just heard a rustle there, and it was actually a woodlands kingfisher that he heard. But all these different noises are certainly alarming him, which is useful for us in terms of viewing. Oh, he may be going for a little mongoose. I think that was a mongoose that was alarm calling, so let me just see if we can get into position work out what it is you wanted to pounce on. Anyway, folks, very lucky that both the woodlands kingfisher bombed down into the undergrowth, causing a rustle, and that initially caused him to lift his head. The second noise I'm fairly sure was a mongoose, and I'm sure he's fed on quite a few over the last few months since his mother officially booted him out, because catching prey like he has done here, this big impala, is not common for him yet. Again, a great behavior to notice about predators, and that they will take any opportunity they can get to catch food, even if they already have more than enough for the next few days, which this one does. He's still listening intently, possibly his rationale behind not moving is that if he waits, potentially this animal will move again and he'll then be able to pounce onto it. So I think he's waiting for whatever that animal was to make the next move. Hopefully he will cut his losses there and instead return to this kill. No, possibly he's heard something else. It looks like he is getting ready to pounce. So get ready to see this leopard propel itself through the air. It's obviously heard the animal rustling through the undergrowth. And watch it how carefully. Oh, it heard it again. This is wonderful. What a treat. Well, certainly didn't expect to see this animal stalking any prey. But sure enough, he did. Now, rather than waiting for him to come any closer, I'm just going to get out of his way, because we are directly between him and the kill. Just giving the other vehicle a little growl there. And apologies for coming out of shot, taking him out of shot, but let me just see if I can wait here. If he carries on walking, then yeah, I will continue. I don't want to in any way prevent him from coming towards this kill. Keep coming. Okay. Back to his initial spot. But a slightly better view, and we did get some great and certainly unexpected behavior from him there, from being flat out fast asleep in the grass. That woodlands kingfisher initially startled him, and then I think it was a mongoose scurrying through the grass that really got his attention, and he actually went for it, but no luck. As it so often goes with the predators, they don't succeed the majority of times that they try and catch prey. As stealthy and skillful as they are, the prey items have evolved over many years to avoid being caught by these predators. Okay. When will the hyena arrive? I'm almost certain that this evening the hyena will locate this kill, and what they will do when they get you is simply wait for little bits and pieces to drop. They know that the leopard will drop the odd bone or two, and by the time the leopard's finished feeding, there in all likelihood won't be any remains up in the tree. All of it would have dropped down. And it's all the harder bones that the leopard cannot process that the hyenas gladly gobble up. Position the spotlights into the right place to ensure that when he does go up the tree, or if he does go up the tree, we've got him properly lit up. That should do. Good. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, perfect. Thanks very much. And if ours are bothering your photography, also let us know. Sorry, I was just having a quick chat with Jors, the other vehicle in this sighting. He's a wonderful man, and he was just letting us know his lighting plans. He's a serious photographer, and I didn't want to get into his way, and he didn't want to get into our way with the filming, so the more light the better though, if it does get darker, so we're both helping one another, which is good news. Come on, Kunyuma. We've got lots of people all over the world watching you, and they could think of nothing better than you climbing up this tree, and neither could I. So how's that shot looking, Brian? We really have been spoilt over the last few weeks with some incredible leopard sightings, and all these different views and angles you get are wonderful in their own right. Here, the fact that he is partly hidden by the grass does also tell a good story about the secretive nature of leopards. And how well they can blend in when he does flatten himself down into that grass. So you can imagine walking past and easily not knowing about him until you're about to step on him. And if that ever does happen to you, the best thing to do is not to make eye contact with it. So, unlike a lion, which is an animal that if it's charging you, you should maintain eye contact with, leopard are different, especially also if you glimpse past them and you know that you're very close to them. By locking eyes with them, you let them know that they've been seen. Whereas if you just gaze over it and pretend you didn't see it and carry on walking, it will assume that you didn't see it and then not react negatively towards you. So it is something that I have done when tracking leopard on foot. If you find them and you are closer than you would like to be, you just pretend you didn't see them and carry on going, and they assume the same thing. And that is understandable. They do know what eye contact is. They do know from please could you two go channel 2? Channel 2. Channel 2, please. Anyway, that is just some interesting information for if you are out on foot in leopard country. Arrive on the scene. He's going to have two options. Copy that, I'm on channel 2. Now he could either go up the tree and seek refuge there, and that will also be in a position to feed whenever he's ready, or he may just run off and lie up away from the kill, or I guess he may, if we're very lucky, give the hyena a little bit of a hard time. But I've yet to see this leopard interact with hyena, so I'm not sure how courageous he is. It does vary from individual to individual. Okay, I just took a few photos there just to make sure my settings were correct. And what I'm trying to get them correct for is if he does go up the tree. So I'm just tweaking the old camera while we wait. And how did that little change for me go? Copy that, thank you, Alex. So, just under 20 minutes left, folks. And sadly he flattens himself down into the grass. Okay. Should we see if we can get those claw marks in the tree, Brian, while we wait? We could see some clear claw marks in the bark of this marula tree. In all likelihood from when he was hoisting this impala up there, because of the heavy load, they're more inclined to leave deep, noticeable scratches in the bark. Whereas when they just climb up with themselves, they don't tend not to leave too much of a mark. But you can hopefully see there from that shot quite clearly how his claws would have slipped about 2 inches before gaining enough grip to propel him further up this tree. And it's a remarkable ability of theirs. I mean, just the thought of carrying that much weight in your mouth, basically the same weight as its own body. I mean, imagine us trying to carry our own body weight out of our mouth, let alone climb a tree with it. So incredibly powerful and agile animals they are to be able to do that. However, at the moment it is not exhibiting this power and agility. It's exhibiting another one of its skills, and that is sleeping. They can do that very well. Just as all cats do, they spend a lot of time sleeping. His head just pricked up. But what exactly he heard, I'm not sure. Obviously nothing too serious, because he's back down again. Copy that, Alex. If Mark needs a little bit more time because of getting held up by that elephant bull and the sunset, that's perfectly fine. We can maybe just spend an extra 5 or 10 minutes here before heading up. The message has just come through from Alex, and he did mention that Mark did, I think, start to answer the question but didn't quite finish it off. And that's the question from Cecilia. Good evening, Cecilia. Cecilia has asked whether leopards remove the fur from animals before feeding on them. And to a degree, yes. In some parts of the body, though, they can manage to get into the kill and actually just eat the meats and almost peel the fur back as they go. So they do get a little bit of fur along the way, but they don't actively remove it. What I have seen them actively remove before is feathers, though. So feathers from various birds, obviously, they tend to pluck. And what they may do with certain parts of an impala maybe is where they are going to try and break in and start feeding, they may use their mouth to pluck out some of the fur. But good question, Cecilia. They try to avoid it, but like I say, do ingest a little bit, and that they either cough out as fur balls, and some also does come out in their droppings. So they try and avoid it, but get some in along the way. Wouldn't it be nice if quarantine just appeared out of nowhere? We had quite a few questions this morning asking about the potential interactions between Kunyuma and quarantine if they come across one another at this stage of their life, and the fact that there's a kill here will certainly aggravate the situation. I'm sure if they didn't have a kill it would be a fairly relaxed meeting. But the fact that there's meat here would certainly change Kunyuma's approach to quarantine. But who knows what exactly would happen. The only way we would find out is if, like I say, quarantine appeared from the shadows. Alex, go ahead with that question. A question's just come through. I didn't get the name, but I'm going to carry on with the question. And the question was whether vultures feed on impala or any kills that are hoisted up trees by a leopard. And never in my history have I seen a vulture feeding up in a tree on a kill. I guess from time to time it may have happened that, in all likelihood, a hooded vulture, which is the smallest and most maneuverable, especially in the trees, may have managed to steal a few scraps off a kill in a tree, but I have never seen it. And the reason why I say the hooded vulture would be the most likely candidate is because it is the smallest of the vultures and it is therefore most maneuverable. Vultures aren't designed to land in tight places like these trees, so they would battle a little bit more than the hooded vulture. And also the leopard would certainly hear the vulture coming in and landing in the tree if it was nearby, which they usually are 2 kills. And at such a point, the leopard would get up the tree and chase the vulture away. So they thankfully don't have too much of a problem. Another thing that comes to mind is that it's not very easy for vultures to spot kills in trees from the air, because most often the tree has a canopy, therefore hiding the kill from the vultures. And that's the same reason why lion will drag kills under trees and cheetahs will drag kills under trees. Well, this is a good sign here that we're seeing some movements. Rolling around and stretching, just as we do when we wake up in the morning. Nobody springs bolts upright out of bed. You toss and turn and hit the snooze button a few times, so I'm guessing that's what he's doing, but this movement is a good sign that he may be more likely to get on the move shortly. And if these flies continue bothering him, which they are, that may be another reason why he may get up and move. Come on, boy. Come on. Copy, thank you, sir. I will keep you posted. What we want to see him do now is a big yawn. That's a good characteristic. I've got the word characteristic in my head from a joke, and I actually said it the other day live. I just rolled with it. But it is a good characteristic or behavioral sign of cats that are about to get up. They often let off 1 or 2 big yawns. Are you doing okay with light there, Brian? Or okay? The camera will be, in all likelihood, giving you a false idea of how light it is at the moment, because it is letting in a lot of light at the moment. So just to let you know, it is getting fairly dark actually at the moment, and this darkness will hopefully bring a change in his mood, which is now a very sleepy one. such a peaceful time of the evening, this, and to be able to sit in one place for the last half an hour is really wonderful, because by being in one set place you really feel the changes and see the changes as the light begins to fade. And it really is a beautiful place to be, especially considering that there's a leopard only a few meters away from us, together with its impala kill, so very good prospects for seeing it up the tree. And let's hope he decides to do so in the next few minutes. We are going to run slightly into the fireside chat in the hope that he will get up in the next 5 or 10 minutes. If he's not up in the next 5 or 10, we will head across to the fireside chats and proceed with that event, which I'm really looking forward to too. So either way, we have got some good options ahead of us. Come on, have a yawn, go up the tree. Two vehicles with Kunyuma. He's lying up at the base of the tree. The question's just come through from Charles in North Carolina. Good evening, Charles, and welcome on board. Charles is asking at which stage does the leopard disembowel its kill. It's often the first thing they do. This way it lightens the kill drastically for being able to hoist it up a tree. So that's one of the reasons why they do it initially. And secondly, it also provides them with a few very easy to eat parts of the body. Some of the organs, the heart and the liver, are very easy to process for the leopard, as there's no bones and serious chewing required. So they do seek out certain organs from within the intestines. Good question though, and I should have covered over that, so I'm glad you asked the question. And maybe, with a bit of luck, we will manage to see one of the leopards that we view actually make a kill, and then continue to do the rest of the business that they need to do. And there certainly is a chance in the coming weeks that that could happen. But the question is, do we think in the coming minutes this leopard will go up the tree? I mean, it could be hours before he decides to feed again. Literally hours. So, reading into his body language now, it's not looking very promising. So I think we are going to start making our way out of here and get the fireside chat rolling. So I must just chat with Alex. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is, whether we're going to cut across to Mark now and he can start fielding some questions of yours. Okay, perfect. Copy, thanks Alex. So they are ready to go live shortly, but I'm just going to push my luck a few minutes. We never know what could happen, and we'll just wait a few more minutes and see. Even if he doesn't get up, whether potentially some hyena arrive. I've got a feeling that Quarantine might pop into the fireside chat tonight for a special guest appearance. He was in the area this morning, and wouldn't that be awesome? It's happened before with this leopard that we're watching right here, and it was hard to believe what we were seeing when Peter, one of the other presenters, followed this leopard into shot of Hayden, the other presenter at the time, who was sitting on the log at the fireside chat. And to have Hayden, the campfire, and the leopard up a marula tree all in the same shot was something nobody could ever have dreamed up, but it happened. Some bizarre things really do happen out here, and that is the beauty of nature. There is just so much that we don't know or can't predict, and that's what makes it so exciting. Okay, well, I think we can cut our losses here and return first thing in the morning. There is a chance that he will still have some meat left in the morning, and maybe we could just show you what's here now. So one last look, and then we'll come back and have a look tomorrow. So that's all that's left, but there's still a fair amount there, and hopefully he'll still be here in the morning. Okay. As we go out, we should be able to give you one last little shot of him. He has just lifted his head up now, but it's probably because we're on the move. Is that okay, Brian? So one last little glimpse of him, and we shall continue. Good. Good luck. How long are you going to give yourself? It's so difficult. If you're still here in the morning, I'll make sure we bring some sandwiches for you. Cheers, have a good evening. Yeah, so I'm not sure if you heard his response, but when I asked him how long he was going to spend, he said, you know what it's like, it's impossible. How do you make that decision? Because you can be there for half an hour with the leopard fast asleep, and then as you start the car, he may start showing signs that he wants to move again. So He's not sure how much longer he's going to be there, but it could be a while. But what a beautiful evening to be sitting out here. It really is a special, special place, this. And when the weather's perfect, as it is now, in terms of the temperature, you could not hope to be in a better place than this. Okay, so let me get the lighting sorted out. Which I'd altered slightly, pointing up into the tree for the leopard in case he decided to go up, but he didn't. Now what I'm hoping is, because it's quite nice and dark now, unlike normally we close down a little bit earlier, and when it is dark it's a lot easier to spot chameleons. So with a little bit of luck, in the next few minutes we will find a chameleon for you. Saw two tiny ones for the first time this season. When was it? A few days ago. And that was great to see. So they obviously hatched recently, and they're tiny little cute chameleons, which we could bump into. I'm not worried about what size chameleon we find. All I want to do is show you a chameleon. So let's see what happens. Oh. Okay, copy, thanks. Just give me another minute and then we can cut across. So folks, just another minute. Wow. We hopefully find a chameleon and then we can cut across to Mark. He's ready to start answering some questions. I'm sure he's got a beautiful fire going. And Brian and I are not far away, so we shouldn't be there too long after we cut across. The good news is that the sun is going down earlier, so we are going to be having a little bit more of the nocturnal activity as the weeks go on. Okay, well sadly we have not got lucky with the chameleon, but we will another night. So until then, we will see you at the fireside chat. Mark and VM are ready to take over there. So we will see you shortly. Thanks, Brian. We will also, yeah, thanks very much, Brian and Alex. But we're not done yet.